right now, I want to get into exactly what I came here to talk about today, because it's a bone I have to pick with therapists. Yes, therapists. And so I want to say specifically for people like me with OCD and anxiety, if you're a therapist and you are treating OCD and anxiety patients, come closer. Yes, come even closer. If you don't know how to treat compulsions and rituals, stop trying to treat OCD and anxiety patients. That is the biggest part of what we are suffering from with this mental disorder. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to screw us up. Oh my goodness. And let me tell you, I've had some therapists that have kind of screwed me up. So just some background. I started therapy probably in my 20s. Not something I wanted to do, was just something that was necessary at that time. Not a good experience at all. And I have seen at least probably 4 or 5 therapists up until now, and absolutely have not had a good one yet. Now, is this the luck of the draw? I don't know. And if you out there are in therapy and you have a good therapist, please comment below. Tell us about them. Please. And don't forget to subscribe either, because we need to help each other through this whole journey and mess of dealing with therapists. So let me get to what you should be looking for if you're looking for a good therapist. And how do I know how to find a good therapist if I never had one? Well, I know that I'm an anxiety and OCD sufferer, and I know what I need, right? So let's just get right to it, okay? So how about compassionate? Yes. How can you have a therapist who is not compassionate? This behooves me. I don't know, but I have. I'm going to tell you that the very first social worker that I saw when I went into the office, I had a horrible OCD and anxiety night. I was having a horrible life, actually, at that time, in my 20s. I went into the office, I sat there, did not understand what was happening to me and why my symptoms were so horrible and so extreme at that time, but I was really scared. And I sat down and I went over all of the experience that I had the night before. And do you know what she said to me when I got done? Are you always this dramatic? I could not believe it. So, compassion is so important. And the next thing, empathetic. How can you not have a therapist who is empathetic? Please tell me. Now, you don't have to have had anxiety and OCD to be able to kind of, understand that it's a horrible thing, especially if you have patients sitting here telling you their experiences. So if you can find a therapist who is empathetic, even if they have not experienced what you're experiencing, you're going to be much better off. And I have not had very empathetic therapists. Okay, I walked into a therapist's office actually a few years ago, and I only went to her one time, and that's all I needed to know that she was incompetent. I went into her office, compulsions and rituals and all, and I sat down and poured my heart out, and I'm doing rituals as I'm sitting there. She doesn't know, because she doesn't really know what she's doing. Because if you deal with OCD and anxiety patients, you could see a ritual or compulsion coming from a mile away. She did not. She questioned me as to why I was doing what I was doing. And she questioned me in a very kind of attitude-having way. I was like, are you sure you have experience in this, ma'am? So you definitely want to look for somebody who is empathetic and then experienced. Clearly, this lady, the last lady that I just talked about, really didn't have that much experience. And she was boasting about how she dealt with anxiety and OCD patients. No, no, ma'am. Absolutely not. And I left that office thinking, she needs another job. She does. Yeah, she don't need to be treating OCD and anxiety patients. Maybe she's good with somebody else, bipolar disorder, something. But OCD, compulsions, rituals, no ma'am. The last thing that I want to say, in finding a good therapist, and this should be a no-brainer, right? A good listener. Well, isn't that what they do for a living? They listen? Well, I'm going to tell you that I have had therapists who really didn't listen to me. So I had a therapist back in my 20s. She was probably the second person that I saw. And this lady, oh my goodness, I told her that I definitely did not want to do group therapy. And she kept insisting. And I told her, I said, group therapy makes my OCD symptoms worse. Because I have the kind of OCD, one of my symptoms is that when I hear other people's symptoms or I hear them talking about it, it gives me extreme anxiety and worry. So maybe this is something I need to deal with, but you can't throw me into a group therapy session and then think everything is going to work out. So this lady insisted that I go to group therapy. And she just kept insisting, even though I was telling her how it affected me. So I gave it a shot anyway, since she just wouldn't listen. And you know what happened? I freaked out. That's right. Yes, I did. And I was completely screwed up for the rest of the night after that group therapy session. And I went back into her office and I said to her, you know what? I told you I didn't want to do group therapy. And this is what happened. I freaked out, man. She looked at me and just kind of shook her head like, oh, you should give it another try. What? Not listening at all. And this lady had an attitude with me in the next few weeks about not wanting to do group therapy. Probably had no experience with OCD and anxiety patients with real compulsions and rituals. So what the heck is that about? I mean, it's just crazy, some of the therapists out here who are treating people. And I just can't imagine where they got the degrees from and who licensed them. I do not know. But that is my rant. And I have to say that this is something that has been deeply rooted in my heart for many years to say, because, gosh, I mean, you want to go and talk to somebody. But when you've had so many bad ones, you think, are there any good ones? And I know some of you out there have had good ones. I know you have. So tell me about them again in the comments and subscribe. And please, if you're a therapist and you're watching this, straighten up, fly right. Learn about anxiety and OCD before you start treating patients with rituals and compulsions. Please. Do us all a favor. Don't screw us up. See you next time, everybody. And I hope you have a good day.